Among you, there might be one who is destined. One which will recover all his scattered relics. And upon the return of the relics to Mount Wukong, he may yet rise again.
Hey guys, welcome to the channel. In today's video, we are finally talking about Black Myth Wukong. I know it took me a super long time to do. Some of these bosses were definitely more challenging than I thought they were going to be, and so yeah, that's kind of why it's taken me this long. But I finally finished it. We finally beat the game, beat the final boss. Let's talk about it. Before we get into it, guys, just a quick reminder that we do stream every Wednesday at 7 p.m. as well as Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. So make sure that you guys are subscribed to the channel so that way you can be notified whenever we go live. And also, don't forget to like this video. Let me know down in the comments below, guys, if you have played Black Myth Wukong, and let's jump right into the video. So because my review's like a little bit late, I'm not gonna go like into too much depth. I feel like a lot of the stuff that has been said about Black Myth Wukong is kind of already been said. Like I said, this game has been out for at least a while now, like 1 or 2 months for sure. And this game is hard. I know there's a lot of people out there saying that this game is like super easy and like blah 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 blah. It's not that hard. Granted, there are a lot of bosses that I would say are really easy. They're fodder bosses where like you're meant to just kind of stomp them in. And then there's definitely bosses that will that are definitely harder than a lot of From Software bosses. I know people don't like to hear that and whatnot. I'm a huge From Software guy. I've gotten the Platinum Trophy for literally all of their Soulsborne games. I got Elden Ring, Dark Souls 3, you know, Bloodborne, Dark Souls 1 and 2, all that stuff, Sekiro. So I have the Platinum Trophy. I've played these games. I love these games. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's some bosses in here that are just flipping, they're hard. I kind of just wanted to talk about some of the things that I really liked about the game, and then just some things for me personally that I didn't like about the game. Overall, I'm going to just be honest up front, I really enjoy the game. I think it's one of the best games that I've played this year. As far as just like brand new titles go, like this game was phenomenal. They did such a great job. The graphics are great, the gameplay is great, the combat, all that stuff is really good. So let's just start off with some of the things that I really liked, and then we'll move into some of the things that I didn't quite like. First thing that I noticed just right away that I really liked is this game looks freaking amazing. I love the graphics here. Everything is just so detailed. All of the different areas you go to are just very unique, and they look really cool, and just everything about the game just is just mwah, chef's kiss. It looks fantastic. Another thing that I really enjoyed is the boss fights. The boss fights were so much fun. Like I said earlier, there's quite a few boss fights that are just definitely like fodder boss fights. You usually beat them fairly quickly. It's either for you to get some sort of ability or just kind of to... Like the beginning definitely feels more of like a boss rush mode, and I've heard that term kind of thrown down quite a bit, and I could see that. Definitely towards the later of the game, there's still quite a few bosses, but I feel like they're not quite as many like boom, 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 like in your face, especially when you get to the later chapters, and the bosses are definitely getting much more difficult. And that's kind of like a... we'll go into the cons in a little bit. So boss fights overall, really great. There's a ton of variety, ton of super unique boss fights. I'm actually really impressed because there's a lot of games that try to emulate the Souls formula where they're doing tons of boss fights, enemies respawn, stuff like that. And Black Myth Wukong does a fantastic job. There's such a variety here. I had a great time with lots of the bosses. Overall, kind of along with that, I thought the combat, for the most part, was good. It's not perfect. All the different abilities that you can get, I really loved all the different skills. Like you can freeze people or freeze enemies. You can do like a shadow step or cloud step where you go invisible for a second just to get in a really good hit. The shadow clone jutsu from Naruto, I forget what it's called, the monkey multiply thing, where you could just summon a bunch of different clones of you, and you can even upgrade that one to where they do more damage, they last more, they can even use some of your same abilities. So that was really cool. I really enjoyed I guess, the abilities aspect of the combat, and that has like a mana meter too, so you can only summon or do so much magic before you have to rest and get it all back. But as far as just like the normal combat, like just smacking people around with your staff, you see the same moveset over and over again, and I wish that at least with the standard combat, like when you're not using like your abilities and your magic or mana, whatever you want to call it, that there was a little bit more variety. Maybe like if you had different weapons, did different things. Like you get tons of staffs, but like maybe some of the staffs could have done a different moveset. I don't know. I'm just saying that like overall I enjoyed the combat, but there is definitely like you see the same movesets in hour 2 of the game that you're going to be doing at hour 50 of the game. Does that make sense? Like doing the even like the heavy attacks, where the charged heavy attacks, it's just like the same. And I get it, like it's not a big problem. Personally for me, I didn't think it was a huge deal, but it was, like I said, it wasn't perfect. Still had a great time with it. And then the last thing that I kind of wanted to say that I really enjoyed about the game is that there is a ton of enemy variety. There's 6 chapters, and every single chapter you run into new enemies and new enemy types. Some of them you find to be really annoying and that they just do a ton more damage. There's just a big variety. I didn't feel like I was fighting the same dudes just over and over and over again. Each area had like their fodder enemies, and then you had like mini bosses per se that would drop like the spirit. I keep wanting to say spirit ashes. I forget what they're called, but you can get these different types of spirits, and they're kind of like a little bonus attack, right? Personally, for me, I use the big giant monk dude that does the head slam. I experimented with a few different things, but it's just like that head slam just did so much damage that, like, especially when you stun them with the freeze ability, you could just boom do a ton of damage, especially if you had that thing all the way upgraded. But even just within that skill tree, there is a ton of different like mini bosses that you defeat, and you could take basically their ability and now you can use it. Same with like the little summons thing. It's part of your skill tree where you can summon the wolf dude, and he does like fire damage, but he gets stunned really easily. There's quite a few different ones like that. One of my favorites actually is towards the end of the game. Unfortunately, you get like this, you fight the long yellow sage or something like that. He's basically the last of the dragon dudes, and he does like a ton of damage. You could summon him, very great. But overall, guys, I think that the combat is really great. The boss fights is really great. I haven't even mentioned the cutscenes, like the end chapter cutscenes are freaking insane. I was not expecting to get like full-on like anime style like cutscenes. And then there's even like one where it's what do you call it? It's like not claymation, but it's like stop motion cutscene. Like they put a lot of time and effort into all of these cutscenes, which is insane. Like I beat chapter 1, and then I'm just sitting here, and all of a sudden there's like this whole like crazy story about this fox chick that can turn into a human and a fox, and some dude falls in love with her. Like this whole story, it's like a 5-minute little episode that you're watching, and every chapter has some sort of like end chapter that's like that. Like especially like the last one or the 5th chapter or something like that, where you're fighting. It does like a whole like, it felt like 10 minutes of like this animation of you and the Bull King being buddies once upon a time. And so yeah, cutscenes, freaking awesome. The story, I'm gonna be honest with you, I had no idea what was going on most of the time, which is fine. I enjoy learning things, but I will say that the story, you know enough to kind of see it, sense what's going on. At least I did, where you start out as Wukong at the beginning, and the Celestial Court, or whatever that they're called, comes down and basically murders you and scatters your relics throughout the realm. And then now you're the Destined One, which is interesting. I didn't realize I was playing as the Destined One until very late in the game. I thought I was Wukong, like a reborn Wukong, and you're the Destined One that destined to replace Wukong, so you're going around getting all the relics. And like I said, unless you know like a lot of like the Chinese mythology, I feel like a lot of this just kind of went over my head. Especially for me, like a lot of this I just didn't understand. I did enjoy, after I beat the game, I went back and I watched a bunch of explained videos. Very helpful. If you guys played back with Wukong and you're still confused, I highly recommend going and watch a bunch of lore videos. It actually makes me want to, I'm a big reader. I want to read Journey to the West. There's like 4 or 5 books, so that's definitely on the list for me to check out eventually. But that's really it for his things that I really enjoyed about Black Myth Wukong. Just to recap, bosses, excellent. Story, I thought was really great. Even though I was confused a big chunk of the time, I really did enjoy it. Enemy variety is great. Graphics are amazing. All the cutscenes are super great. And I really loved all of the different skills and abilities, stuff like that. That was really fun to mix and match them with those. Now, moving into some of the things that I personally didn't quite like, and for me, really kind of lower my overall view of the game. I understand that this is, I think it's Game Science that makes this game, that this is their very first game that they've ever made. So I get it. I'm not going too harsh on them because, like, for a first game, man, they freaking came out swinging. I think this game is phenomenal. But first off, the thing that really hampered my experience a little bit was that there wasn't a map. This game is fairly linear for the most part, but there are quite a few like secret areas. There's quite a few hidden paths that are hard or easily missed. Like, for example, like I remember you are going through and I would like smack things to try to get through rocks, or you know, go to a path that looked like I could go to it and I couldn't. This kind of plays into the other thing I was talking about too, invisible walls as well, where it's like you look like you can go to an area, you're trying all these different sides that look like they could be accessed, they can't, and then all of a sudden like you missed a secret area, but then when you look at the entrance, or I found the secret entrance, I'm like, I just stumbled on this by complete accident. Like, there's no way that, like, if I was searching for this, I would have completely missed it. And there's a lot of instances that are like that. So having a map and seeing where I was and where I needed to be, or looking over at the map and being like, okay, like there's an area over here that I haven't been to. Same with like Elden Ring. Elden Ring had a map which was great because you can like look at the map and be like, okay, I'm here. I could see a bunch of stuff on the map that's over here. Let me figure out to try to get this way. So that way it kind of lets you know which direction to go to, whereas Black Myth Wukong doesn't have that, and there's plenty of different areas that have like 4 or 5 different like branching things that go out. They are linear for the most part, but it's like some of them loop around, and big loop arounds too, or it'll go off to another area, or I go down this one and all of a sudden I found another save point. I'm like, dude, I'm going like way off into something else. And so I wish having just a map, it didn't really hinder it to where like I hated it or anything, but it definitely would have made my experience a little bit more enjoyable. This kind of goes with the map. There's quite a few like side quest things that are in here, and especially ones that follow through multiple chapters. And if you don't talk to them, or you don't exhaust their dialogue in one chapter and then you move on to the next chapter, it totally, like, the quest is done. And so there's a few of them that I didn't know, or I didn't ever find them, and so I never completed their quest lines. And like one that I completed was the horse dude, and I just kind of did his by accident. I mean, I feel like he's placed purposely like right in the most linear-ish path that you could take, but having some sort of thing to where you could track the different side quests would have been nice. I do like how they do it in Elden Ring, where this kind of goes along with what I'm saying earlier, like the map. If they had a map, like Elden Ring doesn't tell you what to do next in the quest. They just say like, hey, you talk to this guy, you rested, and then you look at the map again and you see that he is physically in a different spot. So it's like, and sometimes like you don't know how to get to that spot, and so that's kind of what I wish that they had, at least something to where it's like I could see where they're at. Like you could go like the little fast travel points when you get to them, and it shows the different like what characters are in that area. So I guess in a way you can, but I just wish that the map would have just been very helpful. And then the last thing, although I really enjoyed the bosses, there are a lot of bosses that are two things. Or I should say there's 3 things with the bosses. Either they were perfect, and I thought that they did really well. The difficulty was just right. There was no like BS, like whenever you fight a boss and then there's just like, okay, like how do I block that move? There's quite a few bosses that have some BS mechanic. For example, I fought like the spider dude in chapter 3 or 4. I can't remember which one it was. and he has a whole second phase that pretty much just one-shots you. At least for me, he one-shot me almost every single time I got to that second phase. But if you went and found like this golden needle, it will literally just cancel his second phase, making him much more doable. And that's what I ended up doing. Not because I went and looked for the golden needle, but I was just like, you know what, dude, let me just go explore. I'm getting my butt stomped by this boss. And then I happened to find, I actually think I saw like a TikTok about it where there was like, oh, and I was kind of already in this area. I fought like the spider dude and went into the painting, but I didn't really explore the painting because I thought that was going to the next chapter. I didn't realize that this guy was the end chapter boss, so I didn't really explore that. And so I'm just like banging my head against the wall trying to beat this boss. And there's quite a few bosses that were just like BS, where you're fighting him, or like you can fully respec in a lot of different your abilities. Like if you wanted to do, and it costs nothing, right, to respec. You can put all your points into the freeze mechanic, or you can put all of them into the monkeys thing. What is BS is that there are bosses out there that will literally cancel whatever ability you're using, which is so dumb. Like I had one boss where you would freeze it, and then he would just break out of the freeze anyway, despite it being fully upgraded. Another one, I'm drawing a blank on any of the bosses, so I couldn't tell you which exact ones. I'm sure if I find the clips, I'll throw them up here. But there's another one where I had my summon monkey things, my shadow clone jutsu, and I had all my boys with me, and he did like some sort of thing, and it just canceled all of the things out, wasting my mana. And same with another one too, where you do like the cloud step, but he still would see you and smack you, and I'm like, what is the point of having these mechanics if you just get like you just see right through them? And then the last thing with the boss is that there was a lot of bosses that I felt like were just incredibly spongy. Like I think if they made it a little bit, took away a little bit health, would have been a perfect boss. Like the Tiger Vanguard, I think is a perfect boss. You deal decent amount of damage. He does decent amount of damage. He's got a moveset that is still hard, but like easy to pick up and learn. But then you have one like, for example, that spider boss. That one has quite a bit of movesets. It takes a long time to whittle his health down. Even the last boss, like the Great Sage, I didn't take me as nearly as many times as that spider boss I'm talking about, but his boss fight literally took me like 10 minutes each time, because you have to go through the first phase and then you have to go through the second phase, and it's 2 full health bars. And so it's just, they're long fights where it's like they're very spongy, and like especially the Sage one, the first phase isn't hard at all. You just do like the 4 charge moves, smack down, and you can do it like 3 times and you delete his health bar. But it's a long fight. Like it just, health bar just whittles down so slow. There's quite a few bosses that I didn't think were particularly hard, but were just incredibly spongy. So it's like, wow. I died a few times, but it's like, man, it took me like 20 minutes to beat this boss fight. Yellowbrow's another one, where the first couple phases where it's just like, he is like a more difficult boss for sure. I would say he was one of the harder ones I struggled with. But another thing is that he just had so much HP that I just felt like I was smacking him a ton, doing all my abilities, freezing him, getting all my monkey boys, and we're smacking on him, and his health is still just like slowly whittling down. So those are just really my big complaints. Like I said, there are quite a few bosses that I thought were very well done. There's just quite a few bosses that I think are, really spongy. The boss fight is really long, that's kind of, together, or they just have some freaking BS movesets. But overall, really enjoyed the boss fights. That's really going to be it for the cons. A lot of that stuff is just really nitpicky stuff on my end. But overall, I really enjoyed Black Myth Wukong. I think the game is fantastic, and especially for their first game, they really just came out swinging. I had such a good time. If you guys haven't yet, I would highly recommend you guys go out and play Black Myth Wukong. Oops, smacking my mic. It's not quite as Soulsy as Dark Souls and Elden Ring, although it does have some harder boss fights. I think overall, I struggled way more with Elden Ring and way more with especially the DLC. So if you're intimidated by how hard the game is, there is no difficulty in what option, but it is, I felt like in my opinion, definitely not quite as hard, although there are some bosses that are flipping insanely hard. So if that's the style you're looking for, I'd highly recommend it. With that said, guys, if I were to give Black Myth Wukong a rating out of 10. Honestly, for me, this would be a 9. I thought this game was fantastic. As I mentioned several times in this video, boss fights were great, the combat I thought was great, the skills were awesome, the cutscenes were cool, the story was great. Few downsides, like I said, the bosses, no map, invisible wall, stuff like that, but overall, those didn't hinder my experience, and I had such a great time. But that is going to be it for the video, guys. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys thought of Black Myth Wukong. Let me know what you guys thought of this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And before I let you guys go, don't forget we do stream every Wednesday at 7 p.m. as well as Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. And that is both Mountain Time. So be sure that you like this video and subscribe to the channel so you can be notified whenever we go live. And I will catch you guys on the next video.